We were in discussion with the spokesperson of the Transport Department. Our focus was on transportation issues around the country. Of course, the country is observing Transport Month this October. It's nearing its end, of course, to raise awareness on the role of the sector in the country's economy and society. Let's bring back Mr. Collen, who is going to join us now. But we do have some callers on the line with us. They've been waiting for quite some time to have an engagement with you, Mr. Msibi. Let's start with you, Moses, in Gauteng. What is your question?
It's about the driver's license when they delay to give you if you have applied. And if it's not happening, then later they force you to go back to the department and ask for the temporal, of which it costs you extra money that you are not budgeted for. And it's not your fault that they didn't issue the license in time. So I find it's unfair for them to do that in the public. And also remember what they did before this licensing thing. It was not a 5-year term whereby every time you have to renew it. It was permanent. You had it just like an ID. So it seems like it's a scam also. It's a trap for the public to keep on asking the money to the department. It's not fair. I find it's unfair to the officials in the departments to do that to the public. Thank you very much.
Right, thank you very much, Moses, for that. We've also got Ray on the line. Ray, what is your question? Hi, Ray, can you hear me?
Oh, hello. I just wanted to ask, this Demerit system.
Yes.
I'm quite old now, I'm 84, and I often have people helping, they drive by car, not just me. How does that work if one of them perhaps does a small mistake or something? Will it come back to me, and will I be expected to pay the fine, or what happens with different drivers driving my car?
Oh, different drivers driving your car. All right, Ray,
yes.
Thank you very much for that. Let's just get a response, Mr. Msibi, on those two questions before we move to the next callers. The first was about the delay in the receiving of the driver's license cards. We addressed this issue, but the concern from the caller is that them having to go back to the station and getting a temporary in order for them to be legal. That was the first question. That was from Moses here in Gauteng.
Yes, indeed. I think it's quite a huge concern for many, not just him. Mm. The issue is that if your license had already expired by the time you went and applied for your driver's license card, you already have to apply for a temporal driver's license. But in the case where you applied for the license before your driver's license card expired, it's a different matter altogether, because your license, the validity period of your license was extended for another 3 months. So in other words, you still have that 3 months. And then after 3 months, it is only then that you can go and apply for your temporal driver's license. But I mean, if you go and apply now and already your license has expired, it's a different matter. You are already an illegal driver on the road, and therefore you need to get a temporal driver's license card. I mean, a driver's license in that regard. So I don't know if you understand me. And the dispensation I was talking about, it was about the people who had applied at the time when the machine was broken. Those are the people who then qualify for this 3 months period that I'm talking about. But if you were to go and apply today, the turnaround time for your license, you'd be able to get it on time.
Yeah, I just want us to get through. Sorry, Mr. Msibi, we've got quite a number of callers on the line. Everyone is interested in this. Yes. Ray, speaking about the demerit system, asking, what happens in an instance where an offence is, someone who is driving his vehicle is responsible for that offence, what happens to him? I'm thinking in the case of the e-hailing services, for example, because some of the people driving those vehicles are not the owners. Those cars have been rented. So what happens in an instance like that? I'm not sure if Ray's referring to that, but he did say if somebody else is driving his vehicle.
No, certainly. I don't think he's only referring to that. I think there's issues where you'd give somebody your car to use, and then they get traffic infringements. So in that case, all you have to do is to go to his RTIA or at the traffic center to indicate that you are not the designated driver, or you can even do an affidavit in that regard to say you were not the driver.
Would an affidavit be sufficient? Because that could be open to abuse. Would an affidavit be...
For instance, in the case, for instance, where there's been a speed infringement, they are actually even able to see with cameras, they are able to see who is the driver in the car. But I'm just saying that you would need to go to the authorities to be able to indicate that so and so was driving the vehicle. And if there's then a dispute, because I suppose if it was indeed that specific person you are indicating, there is no way they can turn around and say it wasn't me driving the vehicle.
Right.
So that particular infringement will then be allocated to the right person. So you've got that particular, what you call, avenue to be able to deal with that. Can I also just deal with the previous the question about the validity of the cards?
Sure.
There is a process we are involved in. At the moment, your driver's license card is valid for 5 years. So we are in the process of checking if we can be able to extend it to 8 years. I think the benchmark across the world, it's around 8 years.
Yeah.
So we are in the process of actually doing what you call financial implications of having to change to 8 years. So that particular task was given to the DLCA. So we should be, I think the jury is out, they should be back by any time soon to be able to give feedback to the minister, and then a decision will have to be made and we go to cabinet for that specific change if it changes to 8 years. So that's basically where we are heading.
All right, thanks for that, Collen. Matthew is next on the line. Matthew, apologies for keeping you on the line for so long. What is your question?
Good day.
Good day to you, Matthew. Go ahead, please, with your question. You're from the Eastern Cape.
Yeah, you see, my license was stolen, and then I was issued by a paper. I don't know whether it was a temporary license. But subsequently, after that, I was attacked by a stroke. My question or my concern was to check. I thought that you guys are looking for the legitimate licenses and the fraudulent licenses. So in my case, I was working for a company, a dealer. Yeah? And then I was discharged because of the stroke. And then I left my temporary license in that car. So I don't have a temporary now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's try to get an answer for you on that, Matthew, from the Eastern Cape. Mr. Msibi, Matthew basically says that his license was stolen. He got a temporary, he suffered a stroke, unfortunately lost his job. And then that temporary had also been stolen, I think, in this vehicle that he was in. I was really struggling to hear what can be done. What does he need to do?
Well, I suppose in that case, there could be criminality involved. You would have to go to the police and report a license that was stolen. And of course, I think you can then proceed to go to the DLTC to be able to acquire another license. I don't think it should be an issue, but it has to be, just in case somebody is then trying to forge. But it is very, very difficult to do a counterfeit of our driver's license card. It is very, very difficult. So it could be probably the temporal driving license. Probably they could try. I don't know how. Even that, not unless you are being assisted by somebody internal.
Yeah.
In the DLTC, then you should be able to get that forged license. Otherwise, if you had to do it on your own, it would be easy for the law enforcement officers to pick up that it is a forged license. So, long story short, I think it is important to report to the police that it was stolen, and then proceed to a DLTC to take another temporal, whether it's temporal, you would have to apply for a temporal driver's license card as well as the temporal license, so that you are able to drive.
All right, we've got next Patricia on the line. Patricia, good morning to you. What's your question?
How are you, ma'am?
Very well, thank you, Patricia. Thank you very much for calling.
Yes, I want to know if I don't get the date when I'm booking online, and my driver's license expires last month. So I have tried to go to the nearest one at Vanderbilt Park. They said to me I must go and book online. I have tried several times, so I can't get it, and I'm afraid now. What must I do?
All right, Mr. Msibi, the license expired last month, and Patricia's been trying to book online, but is struggling to get a date. I'm not sure, Patricia, when you started applying online, that would also be a critical part, not to leave it to too late. Mr. Msibi, perhaps you could come in there. Let's try to assist.
I think there was a case scenario. They may give you a date which is very late, probably next year or whatever, but there isn't a way that you can't get a date at all. So you may find that when you go and book, it then gives you a date for 2 months from now.
Yeah.
I think that would be the worst case scenario, 3 months from now. But not to get a date at all, that would be very odd.
So what happens? What
odd.
happens then in an instance like that, where the date is so far off? Doesn't she get into any trouble on the road?
The reality is that when you get the date, I think that it does give you proof that you've already booked for the testing, and I think in that case probably you could show the law enforcement officers that you're waiting for a specific date to go and do your license. But whether it then exempts you from being fined is another issue, because the issue is that you would have known that your license is expiring. You were supposed to have booked before it expires, and then you can go and get your license. But the temporal license, I mean, you go to get a temporal license. What I would suggest in her case, if she's in Gauteng, you rather go to RTMC or you go to Waterfall. Mall, where you can do a walk-in. It's pretty much quicker. I don't know now, but I think when it started, you could actually do a walk-in and you are able to get your license or a temporary license on the spot. So I think you could also try that. But if you don't have anything at all, it's unlikely that you will get away with it without having to get a fine. It is very unlikely.
Yeah, so I guess Patricia in this instance should get a temporary or else because because if she does get a date and that date is in a couple of weeks or in a month's time, that date could be showed to law enforcement agencies, but that might not spare you not getting a fine itself. So perhaps the best option, the waterfall station is quite good. I've actually been there myself, Mr. Msibi. So the waterfall station has been quite very helpful. This is a couple of months ago.
Those smart centers are quite good. The smart centers. I mean, even at the RTMC in Centurion, you could go there and try. We're trying to roll out all those smart centers. They're quite very quick, to be honest.
Definitely some progress there. Lucas, you next. What's your question? Good morning to you.
Hi, Griselda. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Lucas? Thanks for calling.
All right. Morning. Griselda, you know what? I've gone to an extent of giving up on my license. Now I'm a pensioner. Now the only thing that I wanted to put across to your
To the guest.
presenter
Yes.
is that why do we have to renew our licenses when other neighboring countries are not renewing their licenses? Or either if they can afford to give us a certain period, after that period, then you retain your license as a sovereign.
Lucas, thank you very much for that. Mr. Msibi, why do we need to renew our licenses when Lucas says he's given up? He's given up on getting a license. So why do we need to renew our licenses?
Well, I'm not so sure when he says he has given up what he means exactly. Your license doesn't expire. What expires is the card that you carry, and that is what we are renewing, basically. So your license is there, but what we would normally push people to do is actually to deal with the issue of the card.
Yeah.
And try, because I mean it's limited to 5 years. So hence I was answering the question previously to say we are looking at seeing whether we could actually extend the expiry period to about 8 years. But we have to look at the financial implications of that, which is what is being done now. We've done the study that says we can do it for 8 years, but now we have to do the financial implications and a decision will be made. So to answer your question, I mean, I think it has to be clear. The license doesn't expire. You have your license, Griselda, it is there. But what expires is the card that you carry. Carry with you.
Yes.
That's what expires. It's like a bank. It's like a bank. Your account is there, but your card expires.
All right.
So you have to go and renew your card and get a new card.
All right. Let's take Anonymous in Gauteng. Anonymous, your comment or your question. Good morning to you.
Good morning. You are speaking to Ignatius in Northern Cape.
Oh, Ignatius. Thank you so much for calling in, Ignatius. What's your question?
Yes, I would like to ask if when are they going to introduce e-licenses, and also to ask if I take my picture of my license, will the law enforcers accept that? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ignatius from the Northern Cape. E-license, Mr. Msibi, and if you take a picture of your, I'm not sure why Ignatius would want to take a picture of his license and present that to law enforcement agencies. Does that work?
No, the answer is no, it doesn't. It definitely won't work. The second issue, the e-license, the digital license, we call it. Well, it's in the pipeline. It's not even a policy of government at the moment to have a digital license because it comes with a lot of things and the budgets that must go into it. Because remember, once you introduce a digital license, which might, for instance, be accessed on your phone, then you need to have gadgets to read it as well.
Yeah.
And you can imagine all law enforcement officers must have those gadgets to be able to read your digital license on your phone. And what does it mean in terms of the budget? At the moment, we are struggling even with the budget to get the machines and stuff. So what about introducing the digital license? It's just going to be unaffordable for the country at this point. But it is something that we've been discussing. But at the moment, it is not the policy of government at all to have the digital license. But it is something that is in the pipeline that is being discussed. And I think in the outer years, we could probably have the digital license.
All right, but not just as yet. Let's just move to other issues. Of course, there's been some progress regarding Transnet and Prasa. Perhaps we could speak on some of those issues, Mr. Msibi.
Yes, those are exciting ones. The issue is that, for instance, Transnet, that is the driver of the economy. Just yesterday, we were on the recovery plan in Durban, where we were actually launching new cranes for what you call ship-to-shore cranes. Those cranes are mostly used to ensure that there is faster movement of containers that are coming out of the ships into the trucks out of the harbor.
Yeah.
So there has been a recovery plan put together by Transnet so that we are able to improve the efficiency of the transit, particularly at the ports. But secondly, there is an issue that we are working on at the moment where we've identified specific corridors that are moving cargo to be able to focus on those and to see what is it that the private sector, the role that the private sector can play to improve our freight rail in order to boost the economy of the country. So we published what we call a request for information. I think it was in March, if I'm not mistaken, where we were requesting for information from the private sector to say, here is the menu. We published what we call a network statement to say, this is what we have. And then we then came to the request for information to say, as a private sector, if you want to participate, what is it that you would want to do? Given this menu that you have, where can you invest into this freight rail infrastructure? So there's been that rail reform that we are embarking on. So tomorrow, the minister will be making a pronouncement in terms of the result of that particular process where we ask for information from the private sector. So the request for information is to say, who wants to invest in these 5 corridors that we've identified, where there's movement of coal, where there's movement of containers, where there's movement of iron ore and the like, so automotive, the cars and so forth. So we've got to say, private sector, we've got these lines, where do you want to play a role? Tell us. And then this is the request for information that we've been wanting. So we're going to get to a stage where we issue requests for proposals, where we then get into the actual doing of things as to who wants to invest where. But the minister will make a pronouncement tomorrow. And I think it's going to be an exciting news, and it's going to boost the issue of our rail infrastructure, which was vandalized, as you would know, during the COVID-19. So the private sector has a role to play to ensure that we get back to where we were. Our target number is that we should be able to move at least 250 million tons by 2029. At the moment, Transnet has been able to move about 160 to 180 million tons. So we want to increase that to 250 million tons, but Transnet can't do it on its own. So hence we are saying once we are saying the private sector needs to play a role. We've also introduced what we call a private sector participation unit, which is located in the development bank. So that is the one where that's the unit that will process all these proposals that we'll be getting from the private sector. But secondly, the minister tomorrow will pronounce on the request for information for the improvement of our passenger rail.
That's a very critical part. That's a very critical part in terms of passenger rail. It is still incredibly popular in South Africa, and I think I don't think I'd be making an exaggeration if I said there's a large section of the population that still uses the train services.
Absolutely. The reason why we're actually saying we're going to issue the request for information tomorrow to the private sector or third-party participants to be part of turning around our passenger rail. Because at the moment, we obviously rely on Prasa to be able to do this work, and they've done sterlingly well. I mean, during the COVID-19, our passenger rail system and the infrastructure was destroyed and was looted completely. But we've been able to recover, out of 40 corridors, we've been able to recover about 35 of them.
Yes.
And secondly, there is new trains which have been introduced, which were manufacturing at the Gibela train factory in Niger. So those trains are beginning to get into the system. But what is also important with Prasa is to ensure we got about 12 billion rand from Treasury, where we've got to improve our signaling system. So in other words, when we introduce new signaling system and we improve it, that's going to ensure that the frequency of our train in terms of moving passengers is going to increase as well. So the signaling system becomes very, very critical. But this process that the minister is going to announce tomorrow,
yes,
then allow the private sector to come in to say what role can they play to improve even more our infrastructure, whether it's infrastructure, whether it is signaling, or whether it is the rolling stock or the trains themselves. What is it that they can do to assist government to improve our passenger rail system so that it becomes the backbone of our public system, public transport system in the country?
Certainly,
so those are great news as far as we're concerned, and we think that Minister has a figure of 600 million passenger trips by 2030. So we can only get there if private sector can play its role in terms of investing into the passenger rail system, whether it's infrastructure, whether it is the rolling stock or signaling system. So tomorrow is going to be that pronouncement, and we think that in 2030, we should be able to achieve that 600 million passenger trips. At the moment, we are sitting at about 70. They did about 77 million passenger trips last year. So we hope to increase that as time goes on with the involvement of the private sector as well.
Mr. Msibi, thank you very much indeed for all of that. And certainly, I think South Africans would want, a passenger rail a system where we're able to leave our cars at home, less congestion on the road, and use a transport system, of course, that will be reliable and safe as well. All right, we look forward to that announcement tomorrow with the Minister. Thank you very much indeed for your patience.